first and foremost, what it's going to give is even more control straight to the consumer and viewer. We've seen already in PVRs, the Foxtel IQ has been a good case study of this already. The first thing we did see was it provided increasing viewing overall, giving, as I said, greater control and choice to the consumer. So I think it'll strengthen the TV proposition in the lounge room. It'll certainly give greater flexibility to the consumer on what it wants to watch and when it wants to watch it. So there'll be an even further explosion of choice for the TV consumer as we see them today. I think in terms of slight declines in co-viewing, it's down to people having multiple devices and watching multiple pieces of content on different devices. And that's not going to change. I think what we will start to see in the future, there will be more televisions within a household, being able to watch multiple pieces of content, potentially from the same service provider. As an example, there's a brief in market now for the Foxtel IQ3, which will ultimately have 6 or 7 different tuners within it, so allow potentially 6 or 7 different TV locations within the house for each an individual family member, depending on how big your household is, to watch different pieces of content. So I think with the proliferation of content and the growing number of devices that you can watch that content, that will probably continue to decline, I'd say. There's hundreds of content opportunities to view, and with improved technology through connected TVs, we'll see the accessibility to that to be significantly better. I also think one of the key areas which we'll see with connected TVs and IP-driven services is you'll see, I suppose, more recommendations from a content provider. It'll become more intuitive, more dynamic, which will, I think, just improve the experience the consumer gets in terms of availability and accessibility. I think the remote control will still be a centrepiece within the household. The actual remote control may change its physical shape. I mean, there's a good chance that the remote control could become the tablet device or the smartphone. So I think it will be as important, but probably the remote control will have multiple functions itself, whether that to be share and discuss content with friends through social media. So remote control will be key. It'll just be slightly more dynamic than it currently is. Greater accessibility to more content, and it will bring, if you like, content from the smaller screen to the big TV in the lounge. So it will give them greater ability to search at a faster rate. I think it will allow them to share, discuss, recommend that content to friends through social media and through social TV. So I think from their perspective, it will once again accelerate their control and their level of choice from a consumer point of view. I think social TV is a very general term, and it's probably been around for some time, just not as efficient and as real-time that the new technology will allow it to be. We've always discussed, debated the quality of TV programmes, whether that be on a Monday morning at work. This will just allow faster sharing and discussion about content. In terms of the effect on traditional television and traditional television models, I think it will only improve it. I think we've seen globally, as an example, that the BBC as a group of channels in the UK, since the launch of the iPlayer, their audiences have gone up 9–10%, and I think social TV has played an enormously successful part in kind of pushing and promoting content on the big kind of LED TV in the middle of the lounge room. So I think it will have a positive effect on television. Television has been around for 45–50 years in this market, and it's survived a number of kind of slayers that have said that online would kind of kill television. Television is getting stronger. I think its position in the lounge room will only increase, improve and become more relevant with the growth of social TV. I think social TV in the next 12–18 months will gradually become mainstream. We've started to see it already a little bit in this market. It's been successful. I think with the right shows and the right content, it will only increase the audience and the connection that consumers have. I think connected TVs and social TV will only increase the active nature of a consumer watching and engaging with their television. And this is not a plug for subscription television, but it's been happening for years already. Foxtel was digital back in 2004, and since then we've had our consumers interacting, engaging with their TV content since then. And whether that's you pressing the red button to get weather to your postcode, whether that's you pressing red to get more information on Fox Sports News and how your team has performed on the weekend, I'd arguably say that those that have experienced subscription television had already really felt the benefit of what social TV and what engaged television is already about. It will give greater addressability to the advertiser. I think we'll start to see true targeted addressability, and that will be different ads served to kind of different households with different messages. So from an advertising point of view, it'll become more targeted than it ever has before. I think it'll become more engaged than it ever has before, and I think we'll start to really see that the targeted nature of a viewer and a consumer really drives a premium. I think we'll really start to see that take off. That will clearly lead into T-commerce, as you kind of talked about earlier, which will, if you're watching content, there's been examples certainly from the US, the classic Tiger Woods story of you're watching him teeing off on 14 going down Augusta. He's wearing a pair of kind of Nike shoes, he's playing a Titleist one ball. In between him taking his practice swings, you'll be able to kind of potentially head onto the Titleist website and actually purchase those golf balls immediately. So I think we'll just see the speed of transaction, the engaged nature of the consumer taken into a true retail environment through IP-driven connected televisions. If it's done well, I think the successes can be delivered. You've only got to look at the amount of video content out in the marketplace at the moment. There's heaps of content out there. There's probably only about 5 or 10% of it that is good content. So if advertisers are going to continue to head down the brand-funded content model, there's no doubt that connected TVs and IP-driven services will give them greater opportunity, but it will only be as good as the content they produce. Audi in the UK has had a channel on Sky for a number of years, and it goes down to how constant that content can be updated and kept fresh and kept engaging. So it has its place, but I think it also comes with an enormous amounts of risks for the advertiser to get it wrong. Advertisers by themselves are not production companies, they're not TV producers, so great opportunity, but I'd say there's a word of caution that goes with it. The big opportunity remains around matching that content across multiple devices. Still, we see a number of examples where an advertiser will go and produce 2 great half hours of television, and that's all they'll produce, which in our mind is an enormously missed opportunity. We have a mantra back at MCN which is about produce once and publish often. So if you're going to go to the effort of producing half an hour of television, you should also produce a number of bite-sized segments, whether they be 5-minute, 2-minute, 30-second sound bites, that you can then leverage the sheer amount of devices out there to push the message out. So I think that remains the biggest opportunity. Those advertisers that get that right will be the ones that really benefit from the notion of branded funded content. The ongoing improvement in targeting, I think that's remains a key opportunity. That we talk a lot about mass audiences, certainly in kind of television. There is a lot of market chatter and debate around the new masses, which is aggregation of niche, highly targeted audience. So from an advertiser point of view, connected TVs will certainly bring that to fruition, and they'll bring that to fruition in real time. As I mentioned earlier, you can hit the red button on the Audi or a Toyota ad at the moment and book a test drive. You'll ultimately be able to, through connected TVs, engage with that content, and if you're engaged in that brand, you'll be able to go through into their potential website or M site and learn more information about that product immediately. So I think the biggest change will be time, and time going into a potential retail opportunity for advertisers. If I knew what TV would look like in 2020, I could probably make a fortune. One thing I will certainly say, and based on what television has survived over the past 40 or 50 years, television will continue to be the strongest part, I think, of the communication landscape. I think all these additional devices, greater proliferation of content, will only help to drive and grow the impact of television. I think what we'll see with social TV is that through social TV and connected televisions, it will only look to strengthen great content. I think the more consumers that are debating, discussing, whether it be live sport or reality TV, we'll see a flight back to television, and we'll see audiences increase, as I mentioned about the BBC from the UK. So I think it's going to be great for television. I think we talked earlier about how engaged television will become. It will increase that. The water cooler chatter about content will be new water cooler chatter about content, and it'll be immediate and in real time. I think what you'll also see is social TV will be a good PR benchmark for great content. It'll also allow the larger content distributors to probably pilot and test content before they commission a full series. So for television, I think it's only good news. Television will become stronger, social TV will become mainstream, and it will just explode the opportunities that television already exists today.